Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. So this time around, no movie reviews, but instead, I'm going to talk about history. I figure why not? It's a little change of pace. But before I go on, I'd like to mention a really cool Netflix show called All of Us Are Dead. It's where a zombie outbreak infects a high school, and a bunch of students have to fend for themselves. It's really cool. So far, I'm on episode 5, and I like it. It's Korean, so if you like Train to Busan, then this is right up your alley. I can't get enough of the zombies. Anyway, back to some real horror. So, if you're into current events, especially from other countries, you know about the situation in Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine are on the brink of war, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. There's a border standoff, and I just hope it's nothing more than a show of force. I'd rather not talk about politics, but it's relatable to my discussion, especially when it comes to the region I'm about to talk about. So, before Russia, they were the Rus Kingdom, and before they were completely independent, they had the Golden Horde. And the Golden Horde was like a spin off of the original Horde, the Horde, the Mongols of Genghis Khan. Now, this Golden Horde, or Tartars, embraced Islam and kept Russia in check. That was until Ivan the Terrible, who consolidated Russia's military, made some decisive battle moves. One of them being the Battle of Maladi, which introduced us to another spin-off of the Golden Horde, the Crimean Tartars, who were a Turco-Mongol people. Big victory followed, and that cemented Russia as it pretty much independent, meaning they would no longer pay tribute. Now, like all great forces, they had some help in the form of Cossacks, and that's my topic of conversation. Now, I knew Cossacks as being these nomadic horseback riders, coming from all over Russia, Eastern Europe, Ukraine, the steppes, and the Caucasus. And what I didn't know is that in 1648 they had a capital of their own in the middle of the Ukraine called Cheherin. The Cossacks were just as good as any other army at the time. They were really good on horseback. Um, the, I imagine being a congression of a cavalry force that probably looked pretty intimidating on the battlefield. They were just good at what they did. They were a driving military force, and they were used by bigger countries such as Russia, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and even France. So they knew how to control a battlefield. There were soldiers for hire in a sense, um, but one of their achievements, led by a Cossack leader, whose name I'm going to do my best to pronounce, Petro Konasevich Savedinashny. Um, as always, I'll include links, you know, covering the background of these people in case you guys want to, look up these battles or individuals I mentioned. But yeah, um, so Petro and his band of Cossacks attacked a port city called Kaffa, which at the time was under guard of the Ottomans, pretty much, and they used it as a slave town. Now, this was in the year of 1615. Um, so this place now it's in the it's located in Crimea, Kaffa. It's not called that anymore. It's technically part of Russia. I believe the area is disputed. It's called Feodesia in modern times. But in the year 1615, Petro and his band of Cossacks led a siege upon the port town and they captured it. Not only that, but since it was a slave port used by the Ottoman Empire, once it was captured by the Cossacks, Petro he freed the slaves. And to me, that was more than a win. It was justice served and rewarded. Petro's wild band of fighters, they were civilized, but like I said, they looked really intimidating. If you saw these guys, you know, big hats, puffy jackets, you would think twice about fighting them. Uh, these guys prevailed against one of the biggest empires at the time. Like I mentioned before, the Ottomans, who were kind of like a big deal. As much land as they swallowed up, um, they just were superior in military strength and just tacticians on the battlefield. But that wasn't the only battle. Petro would deal a blow to the Turks, actually. In fact, the same year of 1615, the Cossacks, who were hired by the Polish to fight in a war against the Ottomans. So in May 1615, a group of these Cossacks embarked to Turkey. Actually, the main place where the Turks conquered, obviously, Constantinople. It's Istanbul now. Um, but yeah, on so this little band of Cossacks, 80 small boats, as it states, and each one of them carrying 50 men. So I mean, not that much of a small force, but I guess enough to get the job done. Like I said, the Cossacks didn't fight like a normal army would. They had their own leadership, their own decisive battle moves, and how they, devised plans around the battlefield. You know, so by mid-June, they crossed the Black Sea and landed in the vicinity of Constantinople, today's Istanbul. So the Cossacks captured and set fire to the Istanbul neighborhood of Scutari and various other surrounding ports. After raiding the city, the Cossacks returned to the Ukraine. So if you think about that, you had this little force. Okay, maybe not little, but these small band of force go into a much bigger country, filled with the enemy. You know, so I mean, you get marks right there from just being brave and doing that, and they succeeded in what they planned to do. Normally, when these missions are called like suicide missions, because if you're going to some enemy's turf, like behind enemy lines, you're not coming back. But not only did they do what they planned to do, cause chaos, they succeeded and retreated. They won the day pretty much, which was no easy feat. So get this: the Sultan Ahmed the First, who was the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire at the time, noticed smoke from his window caused by the fires. He sent a fleet of galleys in pursuit. So he knew something was going down, and he called his boys to pretty much chase him, so that the Ottomans catch up with the Cossacks at the mouth of the Danube, which is like a river type area. However, the Cossacks defeated them. So not only did they cause havoc on this port on their way out, uh, going back to their home pretty much, they got intercepted by the Ottoman navy, and the Cossacks defeated them. And to add insult to injury, they captured the admiral of that fleet in the process. See, I always like the underdog stories. The lesser knowns winning a fight against a numerically superior force. Hell, even Western Europe wouldn't even think twice about invading the Ottomans on their own turf. But these Cossacks did, and they won the day. The Cossacks will continue fighting Ottomans, Russians, and anyone else who got in their way. I mean, yes, they were hired guns, but they were kind of a step above your average mercenary, I think, anyways. Fascinating group of people whose territory would, you know, obviously eventually be swallowed up by Russia, but nonetheless, their culture is still here. And there you have it. Well, guys, if you listened this far, thank you. It's been a while since I did something history related, and I just wanted to put this out there. So, in the end, I hope you learned something interesting. As always, come back and check. I'll always be talking about some random facts in history, along with movie reviews sprinkled throughout. Thanks again for listening. Stay safe and healthy, and of course, be nice to each other. Until next time, talk to you soon. Peace.